EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has told European lawmakers that the EU needs to rethink its policy towards China, but should not cut ties with Beijing.
This international and economic status, as well as our own interests, make it all the more important for Europe to manage its relations with China. And for me, that also shows that decoupling is clearly not viable, desirable, or even practical for Europe. But as I said back in January, and as I set out in more detail a few weeks ago, there is clearly a need for Europe to work on de-risking some important and sensitive parts of our relationship.
Ursula von der Leyen speaking there. And for more on this, let's go to our correspondent, Lucia Schulten in Strasbourg. Lucia, we heard Ursula von der Leyen talking there about de-risking the relationship between the EU and China. What does that mean?
Yes, what de-risking means is basically managing the relationships in a way that the European Union thinks it can protect itself a bit better. So for this, they are foreseeing new policies, for example, in the area of raw materials, where they want to become more independent from China. In some areas, they are highly dependent in this field. So this is one of the steps. But it also means for the European Union that they want to have a level playing field when it comes to the trade with China, which basically means to get the same access to Chinese markets as Chinese firms, or also to get a better protection of intellectual property. Ursula von der Leyen has also been talking about introducing a new tool that should protect critical sectors. And this new tool should be thought, because she said it can't be that there are areas or expertise of European firms that are then being used by a systemic rival. So there are still quite some ideas that are being floated around here, basically to protect trade towards China. And this is what they mean when they say they want to de-risk the relationship with China.
Now, von der Leyen is looking at the risks involved in the relationship. But recently, France's Emmanuel Macron stressed that he sees China, above all, as an economic partner. That's hardly a unified policy inside the EU, is it?
You have to differentiate a little bit when you talk about the policies towards China, because there's on the one hand foreign policy and on the other hand there's trade policy. In the area of foreign policy, it is still pretty much up to the member states how they want to create their relationship with China. In the area of trade policy, there it is the EU Commission who is in charge. So today, when we were listening also to Ursula von der Leyen in the European Parliament, she was also talking to the member states and to the European Union as a whole for the need to get a unified approach towards China. So this was a pretty clear message she was sending out. And yeah, as you said, it is clear that member states have different approaches towards China. But I have talked to an analyst the other day, and one thing he said that stuck with me was they all agree that de-risking is necessary. They just don't agree how.
What about the war in Ukraine? Does the EU expect China to use its influence on Russia in an attempt to end the aggression there?
Yeah, the Commission President made this clear already before she went to China roughly 2 weeks ago. She said that she expects China to play a role also and to exert influence on Russia. She reminded China of them being a permanent member of the Security Council, and that she thinks it's crucial that China plays its role and lives up to its responsibilities in this area. Also, and that's maybe even more decisive than these words, she said that it would be a prerequisite for whatever happens now in China policies. Basically, what the EU does, for that a precondition is how China will react towards Russia.
Lucia Schulten in Strasbourg there for us. Thank you.